If you believe in manifestation and you want to manifest your soulmate dream relationship, you need to know this. If you're new here, hi, I'm Gianna. I've been coaching women, mostly and some men, for well over 10 years now around their relationships, and I've helped many, many people manifest and let in the relationship of their dreams, and I've done this for myself as well. Manifestation 101, right? Something that people talk about a lot is, you want to be feeling the feelings of having what you want to have, right? So that's like some of the basics, and we're not going to so much focus on that today because if you're savvy with manifestation, you probably already know that one and that part of the equation, and we needed to talk about something that's a little bit more niche that a lot of people aren't really as aware of, that is really important. But you should take the time to think about how you would feel in your dream relationship, right? Like, how would you feel in your dream relationship? It usually boils down to some core emotions, like, I would feel secure, I would feel understood, I would feel loved, I would feel happy, I would feel like wanted, right? All of these things. And like, you do have to work on like being able to feel those feelings inside of yourself. Often you have to work on an anxious attachment style to do that, your self-esteem issues to do that, things like that. But let's say you've already done a lot of really important, really powerful foundational work to be a match for a really good relationship, to let it in. You're like, Gianna, I enjoy my alone time. I feel fulfilled. Like, I feel worthy. I feel safe and secure. Like, I know how to regulate those anxious tendencies. Like, I'm in a good spot and it's not working for me. Check on this. I need you to get really, really mindful and really intentional about your self-talk and your self-identity when it comes to dating and when it comes to men or women, whoever you date. A lot of the times when we've been struggling to try and get into our dream relationship for a while, right? Like, we've been single for a while, 4 years, or like it's been years of like unhealthy, toxic relationships. We will often have some form of identity around relationships that we're holding on to that we might not be that conscious of. Negative stories like, I'm cursed, right? Like, the universe has forgotten about me, or, it works for everyone else, but it doesn't work for me. And, oh, look, another failed relationship. I did something to mess this up. And especially like if you believe in manifestation, it can be easy to be like, oh, like I'm doing something wrong. Like, it's my fault. I'm messing this up, right? That kind of self-talk. These negative self-identities around relationships are what I like to refer to as a block on top of a block, right? It's like there was something fundamentally like where you were out of alignment with the relationship that you wanted, and you were stuck in that for a while, right? And then you developed an identity around the block. You developed a story around the block. Let me give you an example of one that used to be true for me. For a very long time, all I used to attract in relationships was emotionally unavailable and emotionally avoidant men, right? And these men were actually a mirror to me, right? Because when I checked in around like the energetic match and the embodiment that I had that made me available for these kinds of men, these men triggered my anxiety. These men triggered where I did not feel worthy or good enough for the love that I wanted, right? So they were just mirroring these feelings that I was already feeling within myself, right? And so when I changed these feelings, I changed the feelings where I didn't feel worthy, where I felt anxious and had fears of abandonment and all these things. But I still had this expectation that all I would encounter from men was that they would be avoidant with me, right? And so even long after I didn't get anxious anymore and I didn't take men personally and how consistent they were with me or not to mean anything about my sense of self-worth, I still had this belief and expectation that they were just going to be avoidant and emotionally unavailable, and that's just how it worked for me. So I want you to check in with yourself and see, like, when it comes to dating, when it comes to men, when it comes to women, like, what story am I telling myself? What negative story, if you do have one, right? Or maybe you have more than one, what negative stories am I telling myself and am I identifying with when it comes to dating and when it comes to relationships? And really check in with yourself and see, where did this story start and is it ultimately true? Right? Because for me, when it came to the block and the story and the identity of men are just emotionally unavailable with me, that's just what I encounter. The reality is I attracted that from low self-worth and from anxiousness. And so when the root of the block changed, right, I then got to change my story. I then got to change my identity, right? And then I stopped telling myself that. I then affirmed to myself because like the reason why I attracted unavailable men is not true for me anymore. And so therefore I get to tell a new story. I get to self-identify differently around dating and around relationships, and tell myself the truth that now men are going to be emotionally available. I'm going to attract emotionally available men that are available, that are consistent, and that choose me. And I get to believe this. I get to trust this. And guess who has not dated or been interested or even like entertained or been attracted to an emotionally avoidant men since then? This girl, and that was almost 10 years ago. Okay, so believe me when I tell you it can change. And I also want to say, and this might not be like, you might not want to hear this, but it's just the truth and it's going to empower you to hear it. And that is, wanting your circumstances to change so you can believe differently is a victim mentality. You have to change the way that you think and perceive life in order to have a different experience. You can take your power back. It's in your control. If you love this video, let me know, because I have so much more where this came from.